Yeah, so you're catching me at an interesting time in my life, Wally. This past Thanksgiving was 10 years that I've been clean from Oxycontin. So I'm 30 years old, and when I was 18, 19 years old, I had a really, really bad addiction to Oxycontin. I was spending thousands of dollars a month, and I was just could not kick this addiction.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
What's up, all of you amazing, abundant leaders out there? I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast, the Pay It Forward community, proving to you that you can, in fact, live a life of abundance in family, faith, finances, and fitness on your way to having more. And make no mistake about it, there is absolutely nothing wrong with having more, especially when you're able to put that into perspective. And what does more mean to you? I'm not going to put words in your mouth, so I'm just going to tell you what more means to me. It means more amazing experiences with my family, more relationships, meaningful relationships, more resources so that I can have more time in my life and have more knowledge and more resources to give to others. Not just to lift others out of a hole, while that is necessary, and there's many people that do need to be lifted out of a hole, but also to lift other people up beyond where they're currently at so that they too can become abundant leaders and give more to their community. And that's a challenge sometimes to give to other people. The reason why is because there's many people out there, and I deal a lot with entrepreneurs and business owners. There's something about entrepreneurs and business owners who have a hard time accepting help or even asking for help when they need help. I'm not going to get into why. I have a very strong theory as to why that is after talking to so many business owners and entrepreneurs on why specifically that group of people have a hard time reaching out for help when they need it or even before they need it, which is super important. That's even better. That being said, I personally don't have a problem asking for help. In fact, I need to ask you for help. You right now, you listening to this podcast, to this specific episode, I need your help. Here's what I need your help with, and it's super simple. It's super easy on your part. All I need you to do, all I'm asking for you to do is to go to Facebook, if you're on Facebook, and go to Men of Abundance fan page. It's facebook.com/Men of Abundance. You can find the link in the show notes, and I'll put this wherever I post it at. Go to the Men of Abundance fan page, like the page, and then go check out a video. Any one of the videos that is on Men of Abundance, or even 2 or 3 videos that's on Men of Abundance, and watch at least 2 to 3 minutes of that video. I promise you, most of the videos are very short, and they're very powerful. I know this because I've gotten a lot of feedback from other people when I have these conversations in my mastermind groups and in my networking groups and other groups that I'm in. So now what I'm doing is I'm putting some of this information onto the Men of Abundance fan page. There's a specific reason why I'm doing this for the Men of Abundance fan page on Facebook. And I'm putting some of these videos on Instagram as well. I'm also actually getting into putting some of these videos, because they're 1-minute clips, up onto TikTok, because there's a huge engagement on TikTok and I want to get that engagement. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want more people to find Men of Abundance so that they too can get in on these conversations that are helping you. And if they're helping you in any way, shape, or form, then they are sure to help others. But how are they going to know unless they can find it? When they search abundance, they will find Men of Abundance. That's the plan. The other reason why, quite frankly, is when I build up the Men of Abundance Facebook fan page and the Instagram page, I can monetize those pages, which is really important to the Men of Abundance community, because over the last 4 years, I've spent a lot of money in keeping this podcast going, and I'm still doing that with nothing in return. monetarily, that is. I get a lot in return from each and every one of these conversations and from the comments that I get from people who are listening to the episodes. But monetarily, nothing happens without having the money to sustain it, quite frankly. So that's my plan. That's what I want to do. Number one, get Men of Abundance out so others can hear these conversations. And two, build up the pages so that I can monetize it and don't have to ask for handouts or hand-ups or donations or anything of that matter. And by the way, I'm not above asking for donations either. When you go to the menofabundance.com, then you're going to have an opportunity to pay it forward there as well and offer a donation. Now, I give stuff in return for those donations, but I ask for it there as well, not above me. We need the help. We need the finances to keep the lights on, to keep the mic on, and so that we can also pay it forward in the community. So if you would be so kind to take just a few minutes to go over to facebook.com/Men of Abundance, like the page, watch a couple minutes of a couple videos, and then the key is share that conversation, share that video, share Men of Abundance Facebook page, share the episodes, share Men of Abundance podcast with everyone that you come in contact with. Just drop it out on your social media. #abundance, #Men of Abundance. I greatly appreciate it, and so will those who find Men of Abundance as a result of your efforts. Now, let me introduce our featured guest today. For the past few years, he has been running a 7-figure company that helps business owners with self-directed retirement accounts. That is huge. He is only 30 years old and overcame a drug addiction to Oxycontin pills earlier in his life, as you heard early in this episode. Aside from being a CEO, he is married to his elementary school sweetheart, has a 10-year-old daughter, and is a board member of 2 nonprofits. I encourage you to connect with him and his team at yourquest.com. Find the link in the show notes. Men of Abundance, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Daniel Blue. Daniel, welcome to Men of Abundance, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, Wally. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, I'm glad we could finally get connected, man. I know we had some postponements there and stuff like that. I just didn't want to push it out any further. Courtney's been amazing. Just so I wanted to, make sure I got you on and respect both of you.
Well, I really appreciate you being flexible, and I know you keep really busy with Men of Abundance and love what you're doing and the lives you're impacting.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. I really do. It means a lot. So where are you at in the world?
I am in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Been there a couple times. I'm originally from Phoenix, so the climate and the scenery and whatnot is not too different from what I grew up in, but it's funny when people think Vegas, they just think the Strip, and there's so much more to Vegas, isn't there?
There is. It's similar to Phoenix. It's just we got the Strip, as you mentioned, and there's a lot of suburbs outside of Las Vegas. We've got Mount Charleston, Red Rock National Park, about 20 minutes from the Strip. So I rarely go to the Strip unless there's a client in town or family drags me to the Strip. I try to avoid it.
I know quite a few people actually who live in Vegas and they say the same thing. They might go down there for dinner once in a while, but they said there's so many other places to go in Vegas for, I spent a lot of time in Hawaii, so we'd refer to them as locals, Yep. That's cool, man.
Same concept.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, Vegas is the 8th island. A lot of people go from Hawaii to Vegas to do their gambling and whatnot and then go back to Hawaii. They call it the 8th island.
It's funny that you say that. Yeah, I just heard that term this year. I've lived here for 10 years, and it resonated with me because as I'm driving, I see a lot of the stickers on the back of people's cars with the Hawaiian Islands. So a lot of people actually move from Hawaii out here. Yeah. A lot of people out here.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think it is.
I'll take it. They got great food, so I'm not complaining.
Right. Yeah, for sure, man. So I like to start out with an attitude of gratitude, brother. What do you have to be grateful for today?
I always do my best first thing in the morning to write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. I really believe that taking the time to write those down, it just sets the day off on the right tone, because what's going to happen is later that day, you're going to get kicked in the gut. You're going to get punched in the face. Something's just going to happen that is going to be a challenge. And if you can just start from a place of gratitude, things just aren't as bad as you really think that they are when you're going through that moment. And so for me today, it's my challenges. It's the adversity that I've had to go through. It's the dark times that I've experienced in my life, because without those dark times, we're not able to develop character. We're not able to see what we're really made of, and we're not able to really enjoy the light at the end of the tunnel. So to answer your question, it's the challenges that I've gone through.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're going to get into some of those challenges here in just a minute, but let me ask you this. Since you write down what you're thankful for and grateful for every morning, I've been doing that for many years, but I want to hear from you. What has that done for you specifically, and, both mentally, physically, and tangibly?
The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I go to my Evernote. So Evernote's an app that I have on my phone. And I just write down the first 5 things that I'm grateful for. And it could be something as simple as I'm grateful to wake up in a bed and have a running water and a heater, right? I mean, it could just be some basic necessities. But what that's done for me is it just sets the tone, right? So then after I write down what I'm grateful for, then I go to the gym and I have my morning routine. And then what I like to do is at the end of the day, on that same Evernote day, because Evernote has the different notes that are categorized. So for today, the note I created was 12/20/19. So I've got what I'm grateful for on that one specific note. And then before I go to bed, on that same note, I write down my wins for the day. And I really like that, because what I'm grateful for, my wins, sometimes they contradict each other. Sometimes there's a correlation between the two, but it really just gets me in the right mindset where every single day I'm just grateful for certain things in my life. And then I think it's important that you know your wins as well. And sometimes it's tough where you're like, dude, did I even get any wins today? And you're going through your calendar and you're thinking, did I get any wins? Oh yeah, I got this win, right? And then other days there's like, dude, I got like 5 solid wins. So it just puts a good perspective on things.
Yeah, really cool. I call that hunting the good stuff. And because there's always something good that you can glean from what's happened throughout the day. Either you met somebody new. Hey, that's a win.
Yep.
You never know where that's going to go. And, stuff. It's interesting that you say that within the day, because I've picked up old journals of mine that were, 2, 3, 4 years old. And I'll just kind of glance through them, thumb through them real quick. And then I'll get to somewhere where I wrote down a bunch of goals and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I did all this stuff. And then I'll go, I wonder what else, I'll go through my other journals and I'll be like, I did that. There's just something powerful about writing it down. I tried the app part of writing stuff like that down, and I do still take notes. When something comes up in my mind, I just have to write it down, or I'll verbalize it into my phone. Smartphone is just the coolest thing that we have these days for people that our minds are constantly moving.
Oh yeah.
And I got to write it down. Otherwise, literally 5 minutes later, it's like, what the hell was I just thinking of?
So true.
Because it gets buried with all the other cool stuff,
Yep.
So it's, but I like journals, and I just they're all over the place around here in my office, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's great when you're having a day where you're lacking confidence, right? Because no one wakes up every single day, 365 days of the year, and they're in beast mode. They feel like they're on top of the world, right? There's going to be days where you're doubting yourself, right? You're lacking confidence. Mm-hmm. And it's always good to just revert to those wins, to just pump yourself up, be like, man, hopefully we can cuss on here. It's like, I'm the shit, I can really get things done. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we have to go back in time and just remember, how great we really are, and the capability that we have, and a lot more potential.
Yeah. The mindset is just absolutely huge. We were talking pre-show here, and I'm kind of fluish today, and I'm a big believer. First off, I'm a big sissy when I get sick, because I very seldom get sick, and I do mind over matter. I really do. I just sit here. I'll sit in a quiet spot like I did this morning. I had to go down to the VA and do some stuff, and I just sat here and I was like, "You ain't got time for this, dude. This is not going to take you." And I'll do some priming. I learned from Tony Robbins last November that I do almost every single morning, just to get my mind straight, because I know I'm going to be filled with find some negativity in the day, and that just starts my day out right. But I just refuse to let something like that slow me down. But like you said, not every day can be 100%, and Today's one of those days.
It happens. It
Unfortunately,
happens.
absolutely, man, it does. And you got to, I slow down a lot, so I'm pretty laid back, so I'm not going balls to the walls anymore like I used to. I take my time, but in any case, you know, I could sit here and ask you a bunch of questions, but one of the questions I like to ask when I'm getting to know somebody is, how would you describe yourself?
I'm someone that's really competitive. I grew up playing sports as a kid, and I think a lot of that competitiveness translated into sales, and then a lot of that translated into me being an entrepreneur. And I'm just a big goofball at the same time. I've got a 10-year-old daughter that I love to embarrass and have fun with. I'm married to my elementary school sweetheart. We were in the same second grade class and really good friends in
What?
elementary school. Yeah,
That's
so
crazy. That's
it's
so
really
awesome.
cool to be married to a good friend of mine and someone I've had a crush on, but I was too scared to ask her, to hold my hands during recess because I was a wuss. And yeah, I really love sports and I love the community as far as having a tribe. I'm blessed to have a staff that we work really well together to help our clients. So I'm someone that just likes to be on the go. I like to keep busy. I like to do stuff that stimulates my mind. And then, like I said, I like to just joke and have fun and be a goofball. Life's too short to just be serious all the time.
Absolutely, man. You know, that's another reason why I wanted to jump on this call, regardless of how I'm feeling physically, because these calls just lift me up so much, man. They really do. And to hear, the tone of your voice and the love for your wife and your daughters, and uh, I live in Tampa, Florida for a reason because it's close enough to Orlando where I can go to the theme parks. I could leave right now and go to any one of the theme parks. And I'm just a theme park junkie. And I have a 10-year-old boy.
Okay.
And we've ridden every single roller coaster in the Orlando area, from SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, Disney, all four parks, Universal, even a little one that's out off the strip. I just love having a good time and having fun, but I get so lifted up from these conversations and hearing you talk about the love of your life, and goodness, that's so cool from grade school.
Yeah, it's I feel super super blessed to be able to be with someone that I've known for. So I'm 30 years old. I met her when I was 7.
Hmm.
So to know someone for 23 years, it's
Yeah,
I'm very lucky.
absolutely, man. So as we were talking about earlier, not every day is 100%, and some days we get kicked in the gut, some days a little bit lower. And so if you would, share with us a kick in the gut moment and really make us feel that. And then we're going to kind of unravel that a little bit, see what you learned from it, and see what you're doing with that experience.
Yeah, so you're catching me at an interesting time in my life, Wally. This past Thanksgiving was 10 years that I've been clean from Oxycontin. So I'm 30 years old, and when I was 18, 19 years old, I had a really, really bad addiction to Oxycontin. I was spending thousands of dollars a month, and I was just could not kick this addiction. And I ended up having a daughter when I was 19. So Bella, she's 10 today. Had her when I was about 19 years old, and I still did not get clean from OxyContin. I was still using when she was born, and she was about 6 months. Where it was Thanksgiving 10 years ago, and I remember like it was yesterday. I woke up in the morning and I knew I needed to get some pills that day, and I called my usual people, and no one's either picking up the phone or they're just not able to accommodate my request. I used to be able to just call whoever I needed to call and I could get pills, within 30 minutes. But on
Mm.
Thanksgiving Day, all the drug dealers were having Thanksgiving with their families. Imagine that.
Right.
So I was not able to get my fix that day. And OxyContin is making a lot of news these days. You got all these big pharmaceutical companies that are settling for billions of dollars because of how they ran their business and how they overprescribed. So it's pretty interesting to see how OxyContin has shaped out over the years. But needless to say, that day was really rough because what happens is when you don't get the fix, OxyContin essentially is like heroin, so you
Mm.
start to withdraw. And I started to get really sick that day. And the way that withdrawals affected me is I felt like a little bit how you felt this morning. I started to get the chills. I start to have a stomach ache. I just start to feel like I got a nasty flu. And I remember in my car that day, just driving around trying to just meet up with some people to get some pills, and it wasn't working. I wasn't able to find anything. I just remember sitting in my car that day. I'm thinking, what in the hell am I doing? I am going to be 20 years old. I've got a 6-month-old daughter. Like, is this the kind of dad that Bella's going to have? Like, is this what she's going to be looking up to when she is in school? Is this the kind of person that I want her to look up to? Like, is this what my life has come down to? And I start just asking myself these questions and start really doing some soul searching. And it's where I hit rock bottom. I ended up moving to Las Vegas the month after, and I got clean. Been here 10 years since that day, and I've been clean since then. So people laugh when I say I moved to Las Vegas, aka Sin City, to get clean.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. There's so much to unfold there, man, because one, Oxycontin is one of those, I don't know if it's called this, but just in my mind, just that white collar abused drug, because when you think of drug abusers, you're thinking of cocaine, heroin, LSD, all these other things. And I grew up around that environment, but at the same time, being in the military as long as I have, and I went today to the VA for pain management. They gave me a TENS unit because I'm not one to take drugs and pain meds, because of what I've seen it do to family members and other close friends of mine who I consider brothers and sisters. And it's just it gets a hold of you. A lot of people don't know, what it can do to you.
Yeah, they don't. And you brought up an interesting topic in the sense of with Oxycontin. I know I lived in a state where I thought I wasn't a drug addict. Like I thought I drew the line in the sand, like you said, cocaine and heroin and all the other drugs on one side, and on the other side, I looked at Oxycontin as just a pill. Like, it gets prescribed. Like, I'm not a junkie. I'm not a druggie. Like, I was in sales. I was making decent money. I was making about 6 figures. So I could afford thousands of dollars a month habit. I had a mortgage I was paying. So I was a functioning addict, right? But I was still a knucklehead and still making bad financial decisions. But I was in such a deep state of denial where I just did not accept that I was a druggie, and I was a druggie to the core. Every single day I had to use it. I couldn't wake up without doing it.
Well, yeah, it's you're hitting a nerve, man, because I got some very family members, like I said, and some very close friends that have been and or are still on that train, and it's terrible to watch. It's terrible to see, and they go from one vice to another. Right?
Yeah, it's really tough. And what I saw a lot of, Wally, is Oxycontin. They would sell these pills for about $60. So the small little pill would go for $60, sometimes a little bit more.
Wow.
So what happens is this small pill only lasts you, part of the day. $60, you might be getting 2 pills a day, 3 pills a day, right? So you start doing the math. What happens is people end up going to heroin. Because heroin is cheaper, and it's still an opiate, right? Oxycontin is an opiate. Heroin is an opiate, so it still has some of, and I'm not a doctor by any means, but I still feel like it has some of the same characteristics, the way it makes you feel. It's a similar high. Yeah. So I just saw so many people go from Oxycontin to shooting heroin, to doing heroin, and, it's just hard coming back from that. So I've seen so many families torn apart, people overdosing and dying, people just losing their jobs, because it really, really affects you physically and mentally.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I've known family members to steal from other family members, steal from good friends, either steal their pills or steal something so that they could go get the cash to go, get their fix, to get their pills. And it just takes over your life. And it makes you do things you wouldn't normally do.
100%. And the only way to make a change, the only way to see a different result is you got to be in a position where you hit rock bottom. And sometimes rock bottom is and how you look at rock bottom is one way, but when someone else sees it, it's completely different. So for me, that was rock bottom that day.
Yeah.
I know God gave me a daughter for a reason at that stage of my life. I mean, I was a kid when I had a kid having a kid. I wasn't intending on having a kid, it just happened. So I know if it wasn't for my daughter, I definitely wouldn't have gotten clean.
Yeah,
At
I'm
that
here to tell you,
point.
brother, that didn't just happen. That's divine intervention, man.
Yep.
That little girl came along to save your life, to be your guiding light, and so you could put that cross down and maybe pick up another one that's not so, self-destructive.
100%. 100%.
So what are you doing with that information? How are you paying it forward? How are you paying it forward with all, what you learned from that experience?
So there's a nonprofit that I'm a board member of. It's called Family Promise, and they are a national nonprofit. But the cool part is they have chapters. So Family Promise of Las Vegas is the organization, the nonprofit that I'm a board member of, and I really really love what they do because they take families that are homeless, that maybe just lost their job, single mom, she just lost her job and she's getting evicted and she's got 3 kids, right? And she's going to be homeless. So Family Promise will come in, help her find a job, get her a temporary housing, get the kids to and from school, help them with their doctors, insurance stuff. So really just from A to Z, get them in a position where they can be stabilized and get back into the real world and contribute to the community. So it's one thing as a business owner, and you don't have to be a business owner to donate to charity, right? When you donate to charity, it just feels good, right? When you give $20 or $200, whatever it is, like it selfishly feels good, right? But I wanted to give more in terms of actually my time. I felt, okay, I own a business. I deal with employees. I think I could take some of the skills I've learned as an entrepreneur and put it into this nonprofit and be a board member that helps them in some areas, because nonprofits are still a business. They have to take in revenue and they have expenses. There's a P&L at the end of the year, right? So I just really love what Family Promise is about. And being able to help out kids, because that's where it starts, right? Is these kids and the environment that they're in and what they see and how they take in information, and that way they can just have a better future. So I really enjoy doing that.
And how's that working out for them? What's the outcome so far that you've seen?
So about 70% success rate is what we have as far as them being going from rock bottom to fully stabilize, and they don't relapse in the sense of going back to a homeless situation. So it is really really cool being able to see the smile on these kids' faces. So there is a family, husband, wife. One of them got really really sick, and they ended up getting evicted, and they had 5 kids. And I want to say they were from either like Samoa or Hawaii, Pacific Islander for sure. And I remember, so Family Promise gets a lot of help from the churches. There's like 10 different churches here in Vegas that open up their doors that allow the families to stay there for a full week. And the church will house them, they'll feed them, and Family Promise coordinates all of that. So one night I went to dinner and had dinner at the church with this family. And I got to speak with one of the boys. He was like maybe 9 years old, 10 years old. And just a kid that was just smiling. You wouldn't have thought he was homeless. You wouldn't have thought that, he was going to school every day and most of his friends had, a stable home. And here he is going from church to church, being homeless, right? So he was just such a great attitude. So I saw him and we hung out, we had dinner, and then I saw him 2 months later. And like, what's up, man? How are you doing? And the first thing he says, he looks at me, he goes, Daniel, we got our own house. And man, like you would have thought that kid won the lottery, right? Like he was so stoked, like for him to just say, we got our own house. And granted, he probably didn't get, a 5-bedroom, 3,000 square foot home, right? But they got their own place, right? Their own house. And that was because of Family Promise. And that's what it's about right there.
Man, that's beautiful. That is why I do this show, to lift up organizations like that and people like you, and to put those stories out there, because, man, this is so much better than watching two girls fight in a McDonald's on Facebook. You know what I mean?
But it gets all the views, Wally, and it gets shared 1,000 times.
I know. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? I like this much better. I don't care what the other people like, man. I'll just do what I can to bring them over here to the good side.
Yeah,
that's beautiful, man. I greatly appreciate that. I really do. You and that organization, everybody else involved. It's absolutely beautiful. So let's talk about what you're doing now. I mean, the CEO, you're a CEO. I mean, here you were 10 years ago. Who knows, where you're at mentally, and I don't know about financially. I know you're doing pretty good. And then you say something that's very interesting to me, because I work a lot with business owners myself. And I can't tell you how many business owners I talk to and entrepreneurs who say, I'm not a salesperson. And you said you're in sales, you're a salesperson and an entrepreneur. It doesn't, you would think that they correlate, but many times people, they believe they're not salespeople, but they really, really are. We're all salespeople to a certain degree. Some are just better than others. But especially if you're an entrepreneur or business owner, you got to be some sort of a salesperson at some point. But let's get more into what you're doing specifically with your business.
Yeah, so the company I own is Quest Education, and we help entrepreneurs with their finances so they can focus more on their businesses. So a lot of what we do is based off of helping folks in corporate America either leave their job to start a new business, or they have some kind of side hustle. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients, Steve, he's out in San Diego, and he worked for a turf company for like 20 years. So he really got to know that business inside and out, was upper management, made good money, liked what he was doing, but he wanted to work for himself. He felt that he could start his own turf business and be the captain of his own ship. He just needed some capital to start his own business. So he had a 401k that he was able to save up over the years, decent sized amount of money in that account. And we talked to him and helped him understand that he could use the money in his 401k without paying penalties and taxes to start his turf business. And that was a light bulb for Steve, because he always thought IRAs and 401k retirement accounts were only for when you're old. Like, you can't touch that money without paying penalties and taxes. So most people treat their retirement accounts like out of sight, out of mind. They can't touch it. That's how Steve felt, and I know that's how a lot of other Americans see their retirement accounts. But once Steve was educated by us and he was able to see some of the options that are out there, he was able to quit his job, use the money in his 401k, penalty tax-free, started his own turf business, got the equipment, got all of the necessary tools to get his business up and going, and he's kicking butt down in San Diego, and now he's the captain of his own ship. And he wasn't able to do that unless the power of the self-directed retirement account that we taught Steve.
Wow, that's great. That is impressive, because there's so many people. There's so much that I don't know, and I'm constantly having conversations with people in various industries, because I'm just love to learn. But that's something new to me, because and I just know that there's so many opportunities out there for people to gain the capital that they need, and sometimes they have it at their fingertips. They don't even know. And a lot of these investment, what do you call them? Investment products, I guess you could call them, or portfolios. The reason why your financial advisor or whoever it is that you're buying that from is not going to tell you about it, because they don't want you using it that way. That's not good for them. And from what I understand anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just my understanding of it. And then somebody like you comes along who understands these products much better and how you can use them as an individual, as a business owner, and based on various situations.
Yeah, you were 100% right, Wally. What we like to lead in with when people ask me what I do and what we talk to our clients about, it's we help people understand strategies that their financial advisors and CPAs won't talk to them about. It's either A, they won't talk to them about it because, as you mentioned, it doesn't benefit them. Right. Steve using the money in his 401k to live out his dream, to start his own business, that doesn't make Fidelity money.
Mm-mm.
That doesn't make Vanguard money, right? So it's not in the best interest of these huge financial companies to teach people that, right? And number two, maybe they just don't know. I've talked to so many CPAs and financial advisors when I tell them about or talk to them about a solo 401k or a self-directed retirement account. It's like a deer in headlights. It's just not something that's talked about. The great thing is everything that we've talked about in just the last few minutes, this isn't some new strategy or new account that just came out last year. I mean, these are IRS approved retirement accounts that have been around for decades that are for someone that's a freelancer, a consultant, a small business owner, some kind of side hustle. I mean, if that's you, the IRS has certain retirement accounts that are available just for you. And it's just something that you haven't heard of before. And we're here to just bring that knowledge to the forefront.
Man, that is so awesome. That is so freaking awesome. I like how you said that too, because this is nothing new. Much of what we do is nothing new. But you put so much. You put your accountant, you put your financial advisors, whoever's giving you information. But like accountants, you put them. You think they know the stuff that they need to know. I've stumped my accountants in the past. Small business. There's certain benefits that we get as a small business owner, specifically working out of a home office, literally like out of your home. And a lot of people don't realize that you can have those benefits as long as you're doing the administrative work out of your home. And say, for instance, like an HVAC company. Yeah, I got the trucks down at the warehouse or at a storage unit or something of that nature on a lot. But I manage all of my financials and I manage all my admin stuff out of the house. Not me specifically, but I'm just using that as an example. By doing so, you have a lot of tax advantages that you can utilize that most people don't know about, especially accountants. They don't get taught this stuff in school.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one thing to outsource your marketing and not be involved with Facebook ads or, social media advertising. It's one thing to maybe outsource another area in your business. Outsourcing your finances, sure, we have to rely on third parties like, us or CPAs or other financial service companies. But don't be in the dark all the way. Know enough to where you can check their work. You can ask questions, right? Like even asking questions and just listening to their response, even if you're not 100% in the know of the ins and the outs, just asking good, solid questions and hearing their response and feedback, it can work wonders because no one cares about your money more than you do. Not your CPA, not your financial advisor. This is your money.
Yeah, exactly. I remember for many, many years, I was always doing some sort of business from home, rather it was, an MLM or just anything I was doing from home. And I always heard this mantra. It was like a mantra. It was like, if you work from home, all the tax benefits that you get, but nobody would talk about the tax benefits. So I found a guy, actually stumbled across him. He was in an introduction of an introduction, and he had this very good home business tax course that he had put together that he keeps up to date every year. And he himself he's a investigative journalist. And he started looking for this stuff, and he finally found this so-called home business tax advantages in like the Congressional Library. Hidden way back, literally, this is the story. And he talked to accountant after accountant, CPA after CPA. Nobody knew where to find all this stuff. He found it. And I'm telling you, it was about a week-long class, and it was super beneficial for me. Now, I know a lot of things have changed. Trump changed a lot of things when it comes to business tax benefits in general. But nonetheless, you got to stay up, like you said, you got to stay up on that kind of stuff because nobody, if you don't know what you don't know and you don't know what your accountants don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why we're really passionate about what we do here at Quest Education, just because I'm a business owner myself, right? So I know what it's like to juggle and having the challenge of, you got to bring in new business, right? So you're focusing on marketing and lead gen and putting out content, right? And then you've got operations, your processes, your systems, hiring, right? You're building a culture, training, right? So there's a lot of things that us business owners are having to juggle, and there's going to be something that is going to be an extra challenge. Maybe 1 month your leads are down and your marketing is down, and everything is just focused on generating leads 1 month. And maybe the next month is your systems and your processes suck. So you're focusing on getting better SOPs and systemizing your business. So what happens is the financial side of things can just go off to the side, right? And that's going to hurt you in the long run, because you got to make sure that you have the knowledge and you know how to use credit, right? I mean, credit's huge in business.
Oh, yeah.
You want to make sure you're maximizing your tax advantages. As a business owner, it's not what you make, it's what you keep at the end of the year, right? So you want to make sure that you're really maximizing your tax situation. And then retirement accounts, right? You want to make sure that you're setting money aside for the future. You're not going to rely on Social Security and be on a fixed income. That's not why you're starting your business or in business, to just be, living paycheck to paycheck in your 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah. Again, very good point. Most people, like a stay-at-home mom, will go out and start, selling candles, or some MLM or something like that to make an extra $10,000 a year or something, when all they really need to do in most cases is look at their taxes and use the tax benefits, and they've got over $10,000 a year right there, if they would understand that a little bit better. But most take the easy, so-called easy route and end up actually losing money, in my experience. But I'm looking at this picture of you on yourquest.com, which is your website, and the picture of your team here. This picture says so much about you and your team. First off, my first note, just super diverse of men, women, different ethnicities and whatnot. But there you are standing in the back, just is, got your team out front. That says so much about who you are and who your team is.
I really am blessed to have the staff that I have. I think the shortest tenure employee I've got has been with us for like 2.5 years. Everyone else has been with us for 3, 4, 5 years. So we're a really, really tight unit, and it's special with what we have. I mean, culture is so huge. Culture can make or break you. Whether you've got 2 employees or 30 employees or 300 employees, there's still a culture, right? And having a culture, a solid culture, is how you're going to be able to scale, right? And we really put an emphasis on culture. And it's funny how it shakes out. I was actually laughing with somebody the other day. I mean, my office is full of women, and a lot of them are from different backgrounds, right? I got Filipinos, I got Mexicans, and I think that's just synonymous with my personal life too. My wife's Filipino, and I've got 3 dogs. I got 3 female dogs pretty much, and then my daughter. And so females run my life. Like, I know my place in this world. So
Absolutely, man. I get that. Well, brother, we're at the point where we're going to pay it forward to our abundant leaders. You ready to do that?
Let's do it.
Excellent. One of the biggest parts of living a life of abundance is paying it forward. Giving is the ultimate form of happiness. But today, what I'm going to ask you to do is going to be a little bit uncomfortable for some of you. It may or may not be, but what I really want you to do is I want you to reach out to a friend you have not talked to in years. All I want you to do is, if you have their phone number, give them a call. If you don't have their phone number and you're on Facebook together, hit that little video button up there and do a short video or even an audio and send them a message saying, hey, look, I just want to reach out to you. I wanted to see how you're doing and see what you're up to and just see what's going on in your life. We haven't talked in a while, and I don't want anything from you whatsoever. You can word this however you want, but just reach out and find out how people are doing. This is something that we do within our men's group within our church. This is something that I've been doing with veterans and other friends, And it's sometimes challenging. I got to warn you, because some of the people you call are going to be living in hard times right now, and they need to hear from you. You've seen it in the movies and you've heard the stories to where, look, I was literally on the verge of suicide or doing something stupid, and I received a call out of the blue, changed my life. You could be that life changer. You really could. Even if something like that is going through your life right now, you calling somebody else and helping somebody else can make you realize that you are not alone. This is a very powerful thing to do for you and for the people you call. One of the big things going on out there is the 22 push-ups for 22 suicide or suicide attempts with veterans. Well, that's all great, and that's great for awareness. But what I like to do is I like to pick up the phone, or if I don't have the phone number, I get on Facebook, I get on LinkedIn, I do a video, and I use Dub or I use Loom or I do some sort of video on my phone, and I send them a video over social media. And just to let them know, listen, I'm thinking about you. I'm here for you if you need anything. And if you don't need anything cool, I just want to let you know that I'm here and I'm thinking about you and I'm wanting to know if you're okay. That's it. It's very simple. So what do you say? Can you do that for me? I would greatly appreciate it. And the people that you call are going to greatly appreciate it. I promise you that. Now, let's get back to the conversation. So share with our listeners 1 to 3 actionable steps that Men of Abundance can take today.
So I think number one, write down your list of things you're grateful for and your wins every single day. I don't know how long it took you, Wally, for it to be. So you mentioned you've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there was a certain time, whether it was 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, where it just became, a habit and you're doing it every day. So the first couple months, you might miss a few days here and there, but if you can get past that, you just start doing it every single day. And then when you don't do it, it's like, oh my gosh, I left my keys at my house. Like what did I forget today? Right. So I think that's a huge thing to start off your day right. Being able to write down what you're grateful for and then your wins that day. So that's number one. Number two, I'm a big proponent of exercise. Right? I think it's so important that how you treat your body and how you treat your business. There's some similar things that are going to correlate between the two. So I truly feel like being able to focus on your body and being able to treat your body right. I think a lot of that's going to translate into your business. You're going to have good hygiene skills and being able to have good maintenance skills on both sides. So I think a healthy body is going to be able to give you a good mindset, and that will translate into whatever business or side hustle you got going. And then number three, give back in some way. Coach a soccer team. Volunteer at an event, get involved with some kind of nonprofit in some way, shape, or form, because when you do that, you get involved in the community and you meet a lot of people, really cool people that you might end up developing a strong friendship with, and you might end up even having some kind of business being done between the two. And I personally have seen that firsthand, and I wouldn't have met these people. A lot of them are players, high level management employees at big companies. Here in Las Vegas, obviously we got the casinos and whatnot, the hotel. So I wouldn't have met these people if I didn't go volunteer here or go to this nonprofit event, right? So when you give back selfishly, it's going to make you feel good. It's going to give you the warm and fuzzies. You're going to go home knowing that you're making a difference. And then it's also just good for your relationships building skills, because life is about relationships. I actually believe that relationships are currency. They say obviously money is a currency, and then now these days attention is currency with social media and whatnot. I think relationships are currency too. And you never know when you need to go into your bank of relationships and pull some relationships out of there to make something happen. And if you're someone that's always just take and always asking for something, you're not going to have too many solid relationships. So I think being able, between the gratitude and the win list, being able to exercise, get your body right, get your mind right, and then giving back to your community in some way, shape, or form with, events and nonprofits. I think those three things would really lead to a life of abundance.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I would say your network is your net worth.
Yep, 100%. That is very, very, very true. And I think, but a lot of people, that saying it's sexy and it sounds good because it's true. But then, like, what are you doing with that network, right? Like what I did,
Or you naturally get, or you just take it.
Yeah, exactly. I created an Excel spreadsheet over this last month, and I wrote down the people in my network that I wanted to get Christmas presents for. Right. And these are people that I have relationships with, right? A lot of it's business. And I spend time talking to them, knowing them that, this guy over here likes the San Francisco 49ers, right? This guy over here, he likes Hawaii, right? So I got him a custom kitchen, like cutting board, right? With Oahu. The island of Oahu. Yeah. It was made out of bamboo. It was really cool. Got my buddy at San Francisco's backpack, right? So like I pay attention and I listen and I see what these guys like, and it just makes a big difference, when you get something like that. So always just finding a way to add value to your network, because your net worth is your network to an extent, but how are you nurturing and giving back to that network too?
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. That's super powerful. You mentioned a few rituals, working out and your attitude of gratitude, writing down what you're grateful for and whatnot. But what other rituals make a big impact in your life?
So for me also, it's visualization. I learned this from one of my mentors. There is, I'm probably going to butcher this because I have no scientific background by any means, but the premise is how you feel and your thoughts, they can connect to each other. And the premise is when you're exercising, when you're on the treadmill and you're working out, you're pumping iron, there's a certain way that you feel in that moment. You feel a certain way that is completely different than, you just in the kitchen washing dishes. How I feel washing dishes versus how I feel doing curls or running on the treadmill, night and day, right? I'm going to feel different in the gym. I'm going to feel different exercising. So you take that moment of feeling that certain way, and in that certain moment, then you start thinking about things and you start visualizing, all right, this quarter or this week or today, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to have this in my life. I'm going to be at this weight, or I'm going to be, this place in my business. So when you are exercising, you get those endorphins going and you start feeling a certain way, and then you visualize, you start thinking a certain way. Then there's some really cool magic that happens. And I've really enjoyed doing that exercise, and it's been a part of my ritual since I do hit the gym as much as I can.
Yeah, it's super powerful. You can use it in virtually every aspect of your life. It is very powerful. That's why dream boards are really important. Putting stuff in front of you, posters and whatnot. It's all part of that whole visualization and just putting in your life what you want. Calling the shots. It's very powerful. What are you reading or listening to that you'd recommend to Men of Abundance, and why?
So I got done reading recently The 5 Love Languages.
Oh, I love that book.
Man, that book is straight fire, Wally. I've been married to my wife 6 years, and I used some stuff out of that book, and it was pretty funny. My daughter heard me talking about the book to my wife the other day, and I forgot what I did. I think I was cooking steak and washing dishes, and my wife Ariel came over to me and kissed me and said thank you. And then my daughter Bella, she's like, "Dad, did you learn that from the book?" She's smart. She knows what's up. So
that's good.
But that book doesn't just apply to relationships, right? For those who haven't read the book, it's all of us human beings have certain love languages, right? It could be we like to receive gifts. We like to get words of affirmation, right? We like to, be able to have these certain love languages in our life.
Physical touch.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I see my wife. I thought she was, acts of service, and she's like, yes, but I'm also touch. I'm like, man, I've been with you for like 10 years. I didn't even know that. I
My
mean, that
wife
just
calls me
shows you.
monkey boy because I just, yeah.
Yeah, but then it can apply to other relationships, right? Like
Hmm.
my employees. Some of them are gifts, some of them are words of
And
affirmation.
here's why that book is so important. I'll cut you off just a second. The reason why that book is so important outside of your intimate relationships is because what happens is specifically with guys. Guys are I'll own this, but I know this of guys is we think that others want what we want as far as our interactions. So because I'm physical, I think my wife is the same way. Or I think used to anyway. Before I was educated, we just celebrated 27 years last week, and it wasn't. She's definitely not. And so my point is it helps you in those relationships because it makes you realize what yours is, but then you can kind of look at somebody else and go, you know what, I think they're more this, so I'm going to react to them that way and give them that kind of love. And like you just mentioned, it really comes back.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I'm acts of service. So, how I like to receive love, immediately it's easier for me to project it the same way.
Hmm.
And that's not for everybody,
Right.
right? Just because I want acts of service doesn't mean that everyone else does,
Hmm.
right? But I think us as humans, we're programmed to always take the easy way, right? Let's just do what's easier, right? And that's easier. But if you actually just pay attention to people and you listen, you ask questions, then you start to see that, okay, everyone's wired differently, and how I talk to this person over here has got to be a lot different than how I talk to this person over
Hmm.
here. And to me, that's sales, that's communication, that's listening. I think sales has a bad stigma where they just think, the used car sales
Hmm.
dealership, right?
Yeah.
And just closing deals. Yes, closing is part of sales, but sales is communicating and building relationships and being able to listen and talk to people a certain way to be able to, get results and get things moving along.
Yeah, well, that's the whole. I just listened again to, dang, I'm not going to remember the name of the book, but Zig Ziglar, the great Zig Ziglar, would say, that's the difference between getting a sale and creating a sales, what's the word that I'm looking for? A sales career. You can get the sale, but then after that, you're not getting much else from that person, especially with the
Yep.
hard sell tactic. So, what do you feel holds most people back from living a life of true abundance?
Doubt. And I think that's because, I mean, I know for me personally, I'm not different than, I'm no different than everyone listening to the show, right? Where, we've all had adversity. We've all had shitty things happen that set us back. We've all have had challenges. And when you go through that, there's going to be doubt, right? Like, I don't care who you are, right? Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, right? I mean, they all have had doubt at some point, right? Where they question themselves. So I really feel like doubt is what holds people back from living a life of true abundance. And you can dissect doubt and peel the layers back. Some of it is going to come from, the fear of failure. They doubt themselves because they're afraid to try something because they're afraid that they're going to fail, or they're afraid of what others are going to say. They're afraid of being judged. So I think it centers around doubt. And I think that's why there's no light switch for doubt. There's no exact remedy for doubt. I think it's a combination of a lot of what we talked about in this show, as far as having an abundance of gratitude, chalking up your wins and remembering those wins and how big of a beast you are. And it's exercising, it's taking care of your body, it's reading books and listening to audio and filling your mind with good thoughts. It's giving back. And I think things like that all combined together in a concoction can really eliminate doubt when you have those days where you just don't feel it, where you're lacking confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and taking action.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So what does being a man of abundance mean to you?
I think to answer that question, it would be just chasing a better version of yourself every day. Every single day, how can you be a better person? How can you be a better version of yourself? Right? We're approaching a new decade, right? We're making history, Wally. We've got 2020 coming around. And where were you last year, right? Where were you 5 years ago? Where were you 10 years ago? Are you chasing a better version of yourself? Are you living to the potential that we all have, right? Are you, being the best dad you can be, the best son you can be, best daughter, best spouse, best employee, best employer, best friend, right? Are you a flake? Do you do what you say you're going to do? What's your follow through like? I think all of that, there's a scorecard for all of that. And then when you tally it all up, are you living a life of abundance? And I think that can kind of just tie into all that.
Yes, I am. And to answer most
Love
of those
it.
questions. So, brother, we are going to close this up, man. It's a wonderful conversation. I greatly appreciate what you're doing and sharing everything with us. What did we not talk about that you want to ensure that our listeners get out of our conversation today, and how can we get more of you?
Yeah, so I think we covered a lot as far as when I talked about retirement accounts. There's probably people that are thinking, well, how come I never heard of this before? I always thought my 401k or IRA was for the stock market. I didn't know I could use that money to start a business. I didn't know I could access the money without paying penalties and taxes. So the best place to find us would be yourquest.com, YOUR quest.com. There's a contact us section there, and that's where you can fill out your information. And I'm not a one-man show. I've got a team here that would be able to get on the phone and be able to educate you guys on exactly how these accounts work and how they're set up. We don't charge any money for the education, just because at the end of the day, if people want to do business with us based off of our conversations and them understanding how these accounts work and if it makes sense or not, great, they can work with us and do business with us. If not, they're just going to leave that conversation knowing a lot more than they knew before. And I truly believe if you just leave with value and you just give, I think Gary Vee talks a lot about this, is just give shit for free. Like if you give good stuff out for free and people, it resonates with them. And obviously we're providing facts. We're providing the IRS approved accounts, IRS code. This isn't some like sales technique or marketing strategies we just came up with. So if we can just pull the curtain back and help people see how all this works, they want to do business with us, great. If not, they're going to be better off just knowing a little bit more. I'm pretty active on Facebook. Daniel Blue, last name Blue like the color. I think I'm the only Daniel Blue in Las Vegas. So if you see a Daniel Blue that's in Las Vegas, that's me. Pretty active there. I do my best to put out content about these retirement accounts and about financial education. So that's a good place to find me as well. And so here to help out in any way I can in that respect.
Excellent, man. We'll have all that linked up in the show notes, guys. Don't worry about writing that stuff down, but definitely go check that out because it's a huge service and it's something very few people know about. So that's why I'm glad I could share this conversation with you and share Daniel and his team with you. Daniel, it's been a great conversation, brother. I want you to, it's a week before Christmas at this point. So go out and have an amazing Christmas and just blow up 2020, man.
Let's do it, Wall. I love what you're doing and excited to see what you got in store for this next decade. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your show.
My pleasure, brother. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right, guys, 2 action steps today. 1, make sure that you cover down on your retirement plan and your insurance and all this kind of stuff. Part of being a man of abundance is taking care of your family's financial needs while you're here and when you're gone. It's extremely important to me, and I feel it should be extremely important to you as a provider, whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. But when you have others that rely on you, They don't just rely on you while you're here. They rely on you after you're gone. There's too many horror stories of people that are passing on and leaving their family with a bunch of burden. Don't do that. Get control of that stuff. So that's action step number 1. And if you have to have a conversation with Daniel about that or others, then make sure that you do that. Action step number 2 is, like I said at the beginning of this show, go to facebook.com/Men of Abundance. Go to the Instagram. On Instagram, it's Men of Abundance Podcast. So you have to find that. And then just watch some of the videos. Leave some comments. I forgot to mention that earlier. Leave some comments and then share Men of Abundance with others. I greatly appreciate it, and those who find Men of Abundance as a result of your actions and you paying it forward will greatly appreciate it